In this week's Mirror Football podcast, transfer deadline day looms large and Arsenal, fresh from a mauling from Liverpool, are about to lose one of their top transfer targets to the Reds. Yes, Thomas Lemar is now Jurgen Klopp's man. He's got him in his sights, and right about now, it's 50-50. We've got two top football agents on the programme, the chief football man at the Mirror, a European football guru to guide us through what will happen in the next 48 hours, and one of those came back from the dead.
Wow.
Details soon. We've got news from Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs and Everton, amongst others, including those on the continent like Monaco and Barcelona.
Yeah, in the video section of the podcast, also available on YouTube, we've got one of the best Are You Fit to Wear the shirts yet, featuring a treble-winning shirt. And we also discuss, are England going to experiment during the international break?
Yes, we've also got a fantastic Matterface Mindbender.
Why is Lacazette on the bench?
Only kidding. Not really. We wouldn't give you a question that has no real answer. Lots of Arsenal today and lots of crowing from you, I would have thought.
Well, not crowing, but it was good, wasn't it?
Producer Big Tom's a massive Liverpool fan, and he enjoyed himself on Sunday.
It was sensational. I think a lot of the focus has been on Arsenal and how bad they were, but Liverpool were good.
I thought they were very, very good going forward. Goalkeeper still worried me a couple of times, but ultimately, if you don't have to do any defending, you will win the league at a canter.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Well, you will if you don't have to defend.
Yeah.
Some of the best things I heard over the weekend were Gary Neville's commentary box gems.
Brilliant.
I'm disappointed Aaron Ramsey has been hooked at half-time because I was going to give him man of the match just so he had to do a post-match interview.
Wow.
And that was after, for the first goal, he went wandering and was looking completely the wrong way.
I can't wait to see the next interaction between Aaron Ramsey and Gary Neville.
I loved it. It was brilliant. One of my favourite ones was, I'm no Liverpool fan, as everyone knows, but this Arsenal team deserve a good battering. He was pulling no punches.
Started the season well.
But listen, we're going to talk to John Cross about that very shortly. Neil McClellan is coming on the programme as well to talk transfers, including some of the massive deals they're going to go through between now and the transfer window closing. Clive Clark, who 10 years ago this week died on the pitch playing for Sunderland in the League Cup, is back and he's now a football agent. So that's good. He's been reincarnated as a football agent, if you can say that. And he's also going to be joined by James Featherstone from Omni Sports, nicknamed Feathers in the business. He's a big football agent. He's the agent for Gary Monk, amongst others, and he'll be taking us through what actually happens on deadline day and how you get deals done at this time of the year. Now, would you like
a Matterface Mindbender?
You know, I always like them.
I know you do, but do you want one?
I do want one, please.
Okay.
Yeah, what have you got?
All right. Well, today's Mindbender centres on your club because I thought it'd be easy for you.
Yeah.
In the last 5 seasons, Liverpool have scored 17 goals at home against Arsenal in the Premier League.
Okay.
So you've scored 17 league goals at home against Arsenal in the Premier League.
Right.
9 players scored those goals. There haven't been any own goals.
No.
Right. But 5 of those players who scored more than once. Who are they?
I think I'd probably have a good go at this.
Go on then.
Well, I know it's definitely Skirtle and Sterling because they both scored twice in the same game.
Skirtle was the one that I was keeping up my sleeve thinking that was going to be too difficult.
No, that 5-1 is still fresh in the memory. Mane from last season.
Yep.
I'm confident about the other 2, but I'm gonna make sure I've got it right in my mind.
You're just going to give me 5 names and get them all right 100%.
I could probably have a fair go, but I'll go for those. I'll make sure I've got it right. I'll give other people a go as well.
Okay, we'll go through it over the course of the next 40 minutes or so. If you get these faster than Big Tom, the producer, then send us a tweet. It's at Stay On Your Feet on Twitter. You can Instagram us at Stay On Your Feet TV. Well, what a week that was. You've had the debrief. You know what happened after being ripped limb from limb by Liverpool. How do Arsenal move forward next? Who better to ask than the man who not only is the top football man at the Mirror, but also a man who wrote a book about Arsene Wenger too. John Cross is with us. Hi, John. You okay?
Hi, John.
Yeah, very good. Nice to be with you, Sam.
Now, I know that you are in the middle of an England press day and you are busy tweeting breaking transfer news as we speak, which is that maybe this nightmare scenario for Arsenal might get even worse.
Yeah, Man City have bid on Alexis Sanchez, and Arsenal have been absolutely resolute that they would not sell, but City, I guess, have thrown something into the mix by offering player plus cash, which involves Raheem Sterling. So that is an interesting development. I still think Arsenal at this stage will stand firm, and it will be difficult, I think, to persuade them to sell, particularly late on. If they can't replace him, and I guess City's logic is that basically if they can offer a top quality player in exchange, then maybe that might tempt Arsenal's sort of resolve to change in the last sort of days of the window. But if they sell Sanchez, I think what is already a bleak week for Arsenal fans will get even worse.
Wow, and Alexis Sanchez may well be able to force the issue if he puts in a transfer request, which is another story that we've been running on the Mirror Football website today.
Yeah, I don't think that Sanchez has asked to leave. So I don't think that's right. Arsenal have been absolutely adamant that that's not the case. But I do think that Sanchez's future will still be up for discussion in the next 2 or 3 days. But as I understand it, I think that they've had this discussion that Sanchez will stay and see out the final year of his contract unless something absolutely dramatic happens in the last few days of the window, like an unbelievable bid. But as of yet, that hasn't actually happened in terms of turning Arsenal's head. So I don't know that that will be enough even then to tempt Arsenal at this late stage.
You know Arsene Wenger, you know him well, you've spoke to him for many, many years, you spent time with him, you wrote the book with him. Does he see that this is a defining moment of his career? Does he understand that actually, far from being the greatest manager in Arsenal's history, far from being the guy that everyone in the Premier League respects because he changed the culture of the league, now he's becoming a laughing stock? I mean, we did the respectful thing last year. Everyone was sort of like, yeah, but you've got to look at what this guy's done over 20 years rather than just what he's done after over 20 months. But now people have stopped being respectful towards him and started to just laugh at him because he looks clueless.
Yeah, he does. It's a real worry, I think, for Arsenal fans at the moment. Look, I think that basically towards the end of last season things were going a bit stale. I do think there's an opportunity there for Arsenal to make a change in manager. I think that Wenger was always determined to stay on, and I think the club from about April onwards, made this resolve to stick with him and move ahead with Arsene Wenger. But I don't know whether that's always the right choice to make. Really, I think it's sometimes a case of better the devil you know, isn't it? But yeah, I think with Arsenal, I think what better way would there have been for Wenger to win the FA Cup, lift the trophy, and go out in a glorious farewell, even in front of some of the fans that had knocked in the previous season. And I just think he was so determined to give it one last crack, to give it one last go. That's his point, isn't it? That basically, that sort of, that I don't know whether that's really going to be enough, really, for Arsenal to persuade him to sort of, to move forward, really, for Arsenal, and whether sort of Wenger is in the right frame of mind now to kind of try and change and adapt and challenge while everyone else is spending big money. Arsenal sort of selling players. And it's been just so disappointing, I think. So Alexis Sanchez has been bid for by Manchester City. Oxlade Chamberlain is on the verge of an exit. We think he's going to Chelsea. So, I mean, are they just the first two of many different, I'm not going to call them rats, but leaving the sinking ship, people just getting off before it goes down? Yeah, I think with Oxlade Chamberlain, I think he's made a career choice, to be honest. I think he's got him left on his contract and Arsenal will cash in now. So I can sort of stand there. I think he wants to see himself develop and sort of move forward, improve himself, particularly, with England in mind. And I think that he feels, obviously, he hasn't perhaps been able to sort of fulfil his huge, rich potential at Arsenal. But I do think with Sanchez, I think the issue for now is whether they sort of can get to re-sign and keep him again. And I don't know whether that will be enough, really, for Sanchez. I personally think that what happened is that Sanchez will probably see out the final year, leave on a very, very lucrative free transfer next summer as a free agent, And you know, I think he'll be in a very good position then. But I do worry about the final season, whether he's going to be sort of pumped up knowing that he's going to go for pastures new. That's always the issue, I think, for players towards the end.
We're just waiting for confirmation of the Oxlade Chamberlain deal. Do you think whoever gets the Ox will really have a bargain on their hands there?
Well, I do think that could be the case, because I think we've seen glimpses of it in 2017. He's had a good year. You know, he hasn't always had a great time at Arsenal, largely because of injuries, I think, and getting the best out of himself. But I don't know that basically that really he could do that at Arsenal. Maybe sometimes you need a fresh challenge, and that's part of the issue. I think he's got the real capacity to come back and haunt Arsenal, and I think that will be the way. He's got so much pace, he's got so much power, and I think if he can run into the best years of his career and really develop that potential, then I think, you know, it's all there for Alex Oxlade Chamberlain. If he goes to a club, you know, like Chelsea and wins major honours, like the Premier League title and maybe even European success, then that's also a very good thing for England and his England career.
It's fascinating, really, isn't it, that Chelsea have sold one guy who's just been called up to the England squad, who could end up playing in central midfield, where Alex Oxlade Chamberlain was tried out by Gareth Southgate and it didn't end up working. It's pretty ironic, that.
Yeah, it is really. You know, it is difficult, isn't it? Sometimes with you know, with moves, you've got to choose the right moment, and then if a manager changes and things develop, then who knows? But I just feel that sometimes a player, it's not necessarily, you know, kind of, you know, a club getting it wrong or basically mismanaging the player. Sometimes you just need that fresh start. And I think the fresh start really, you know, is required now at this stage, I think, for Oxlade Chamberlain to really come back and sort of, you know, really improve and push on. I think that Chelsea, if they do indeed get the deal over the line, don't forget that Liverpool in the background, but Arsenal would much rather deal with Chelsea. You know, relations still not great between Arsenal and Liverpool, following on from Luis Suarez in 2013. Then I think they'll really get a really good player, I think, Chelsea. But you know, it's a really difficult one for Arsenal fans. I think Arsenal fans are split over it, because I think they've had some frustrations with the Ox. But I think perhaps the wiser ones can see that in recent times, in really delivering on his potential. So I think it is one that's got potential to come back and really haunt Arsenal in the future.
I know you're in hushed tones because you're in the middle of an England press briefing today, and I know you're looking forward to a weekend of double headers for England. Malta Friday, then Slovakia on Monday. I mean, it's such a massive squad that Gareth Southgate has picked. I mean, is he going to play two completely separate teams?
Yeah, I do think it's an interesting squad, and I think that the sort of the new call-ups like Chalobah, you know, have got a sort of an opportunity to move forward. It'll be interesting, by the way, sort of Oxlade Chamberlain, whether indeed he'll go to Malta or whether he'll be locked in transfer negotiations. The FA have indicated that they'll allow him to go, you know, and sort of you know, complete that transfer if it hasn't been done so already before they fly on Thursday. But I do think that kind of if England can get 2 wins in the next 2 games, which you'd absolutely expect them to against Malta and Slovakia, then they're halfway to you know, sort of almost there. I feel we can almost touch the World Cup qualification, and I think then from there you can almost then sort of really push on and kind of, you know, make plans and know that you're qualified. And I think it will give Gareth Southgate a lift, because in recent times, I think some of the results haven't been as promising as we've sort of had that sort of optimism checked a little bit. So I do think it needs a kind of a really good couple of wins, hopefully, in the next few weeks.
What do you think of the goalkeeping situation, John? Do you think Hart will start both, or might we see Butland in one of those games?
I think Butland might even start Friday. It's just a hunch, but I just think that Butland will be England's number 1 start the World Cup. I think that Joe Hart just needs to rediscover himself, really. I'm still a big Joe Hart fan, but I do think that Butland, you know, can really be sort of, you know, long-term number 1, and this is almost his opportunity. As I say, the sooner England qualify, the sooner they can kind of almost concentrate on sort of qualifying for the World Cup. So, and sort of making plans for the World Cup, I should say. And I think Butland will be central to that, I think, moving forward.
John, thank you very much. Cheers for joining us. Appreciate it. That big news about Alexis Sanchez, I'm sure, will be all over the Mirror Football website and in the paper tomorrow. We'll speak to you soon. Enjoy creeping around St George's Park. Every week, Big Tom brings you his big news. It doesn't get you the likes, doesn't get you the retweets that you might crave. However, it's just as important. What you got this week?
This week is a recurring theme, is the current theme of Arsenal and the Europa League. Now, Arsenal and Everton have never won this competition.
Nope.
Yet the manager's two approaches couldn't look night and day different. Ronald Koeman, excited by the prospect of European football at Goodison Park, fully intent on making the most of Rooney's retirement and fielding a strongest team in order to progress.
Yep.
Arsene Wenger, on the other hand, has alluded to maybe using it for development as a mix of youth and reserve players.
Maybe that's all he'll have left by the time we get to the end of the transfer window.
Maybe. Now, some highlight the physical demands of competing for the Premier League.
As we saw with Everton this week.
Yep, and the domestic cups, and argue that fatigue did for last year's winners Man United and cost them a top 4 place. However, without them taking this competition seriously, we wouldn't see Pogba and co in the European Cup this year.
Absolutely correct.
Now, will Arsenal be challenging for the league though?
No.
The defeat against Stoke and the mauling against Liverpool suggests that that's not going to be the case. Now, in fairness, the ticket prices at the Emirates for the Europa League look unusually reasonably priced.
I like that you're being fair, that's good.
Yeah, well, £5 for a junior gunner seat.
That's good.
That's good. And around about 20 quid for an adult seat.
That's all right, not bad.
Fairly priced. But if they're going to treat the competition with such disdain, maybe
You mean by playing the kids and stuff?
Yeah,
right.
Maybe they should let the fans in for free. The winner gets the Champions League.
Yes.
Say that again. The winner gets the Champions League. Now, with Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Spurs and Liverpool looking stronger favourites for the top 4, surely you grab your opportunity to get a Champions League place with both hands.
If you're Arsenal, you may have to. Right, the transfer window closes this week. Let's get an agent's view by speaking to Omni Sports' James Featherstone, who is the agent for Gary Monk, the Middlesbrough manager, amongst others, and Clive Clark, who was a footballer, clinically died on the pitch and then was brought back to life. He was playing for Sunderland at the time in the League Cup. It was 10 years ago this week, but thankfully he is still with us and he joins us on the line now. Gentlemen, hello, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Hope you're well. Clive, I'm going to start with you. Now, 10 years ago this week, you clinically died on the pitch whilst playing for Sunderland. I mean, it's an unbelievable story, and sort of people have heard it all before. But I mean, do you suffer any after effects from it, or what?
Not really. No, I don't suffer any effects. Obviously, I still have to go see a doctor every few months. Go see a heart consultant to make sure everything's okay. I've been fitted with an internal defibrillator, which is a little bit like a pacemaker. So I've had that in me for the last 10 years since the incident. But touch wood, all's okay so far. Well, we're delighted that to have you with us today, and we're delighted that I've got to spend time with you and enjoy your company. That is definitely for sure. We do wish you all the best. Let's talk about what you do now then, football agency, because the transfer window is about to close. Now, is it official that if you are trying to buy players at this time of the year, you're officially panic buying?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there's a couple of deals that will get done later on that's been working for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but those who have not identified the targets are going to panic buy, and unfortunately it happens every year, and it's normally clubs that deem to be well run that are looking around the market last minute trying to get players in.
In terms of the mechanics of a deal, how does it work at this time of year? Do you get like random calls from managers and from CEOs saying, look, I really need a player who can do this or this, or do you start to approach managers at this stage of the year saying, I've got this player, he fancies a move, I can get him to you cheaply at this time of year?
Bit of both, really. I think what happens in a lot of clubs is they have unrealistic targets to start with. And then the ones that are realistic come to the fore in the last couple of days. So normally they kind of know the makeup already of the deal, and then they just press the go button in the last couple of days, because obviously you've got to get a medical and obviously agree a fee for them and the payment structure, and then obviously agree wages with the player as well. So there's a couple conversations that need to be taken. So you need to be identifying them a couple of days before you actually completing the move.
Do you get on with other agents? Are you like mates with other agents, or do they just get on your nerves trying to sort of weasel in on deals?
Yeah, no, you know me, Sam. I'm pretty laid back. I don't really give a monkeys about the other one, so I just get on with it. I just get on with people. If I like them, I like them. Obviously, there's some ones out there who just money orientated and they don't look after their clients. I tend not to bother socialising with them, and when they ring, I just say, don't call again.
So we've got lots of deals that are hopefully going to get over the line in the next couple of days. What's the kind of strangest thing, without mentioning any names or clubs if you don't want to, what's the strangest thing that's held a deal up in your experience?
Well, I'm working on a deal at the minute where the club have told the player he can leave. They've accepted an offer for him, but they won't let him leave until they find a target for the same amount of money that they've accepted. But all the targets are more expensive, so they've come back around and offered the player a new contract and told him how much he loved him. So that was pretty unique, and that's been going on for a month, and I'm actually just about to go into a meeting regarding that contract and our deal now. So it's still very much up in the air what will happen, but it's been a club that's, I would say, not very well ran, who kind of haven't got a clue what they're doing.
Unfortunately, that happens far too often, doesn't it? Listen, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Great to see you, and we'll catch up for a few beers soon.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Let's speak to James Featherstone from Omni Sports. He's the agent for Gary Monk, the Middlesbrough manager, amongst others as well. Firstly, James, take us to your nerve centre. I mean, this looks pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, this is head office, as you can see, fully branded up, even with one of my shirts underneath. Now, we've got two offices in the UK, so one up in South Manchester in Cheshire, one in London. So I think we're pretty well suited in terms of servicing the clubs. We've probably got 30, if not 40, so getting on for 50% of the league clubs within an hour of the offices. So good locations, plenty of clubs on the doorstep. So yeah, it's good.
How does it work then at this time of year? Because we're getting into the stage where lots of deals are being done last minute. Are those deals that were always in the pipeline, or are those deals that managers and coaches and CEOs are rushing through, and agents and players are rushing through as well, because they just want to get some business done before the deadline goes?
It just depends, really. I think the UK, England in particular, I think we're known as being a little bit last minute. I don't think that's a lack of process or a lack of strategy. I think it's just because there's more money involved in in the Premier League and even the Championship than a lot of territories. I think the main driver at this time of year is squad composition. Obviously, for the top six, can they just find that final piece of the jigsaw? And then from there down, really, it's a little bit like a housing chain. If they've got to take a player from somewhere, they're not taking unattached players. So quite often you'll see a movement in a certain position. Obviously, centre half at the moment is one we're keeping our eye on. Strikers, wingers is always busy. So I think it differs for each club. You tend to see, the higher up where there's where money's less of an issue. They tend to be much more kind of concrete in terms of they either get done or they don't, and they can cope with or without. Obviously, we've just seen Liverpool doing business for next summer, so that shows kind of how forward thinking they are with their squad. And then obviously as you move down through the squads, depending what's driving the club, really, if it's getting into Europe, if it's staying in the Premier League, if it's getting back in the Premier League, depending what's driving it, you do get at this time of year some, I wouldn't say panic buys, because they tend to be tried and tested players, but you do get some deals that pretty much go from zero to hero in a short space of time. Absolutely.
That's an interesting point you just made there, James. I mean, do you find there's a difference between the different positions of player and how quickly or how readily the deal can get done between a goalkeeper, for example, and a striker? Is there a difference there?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at any squad on over the weekend, look at your bench composition. You've got one goalkeeper, maybe two defenders, and the rest are offensive players. So if you think about that in terms of acquiring players, if you need a goalkeeper, you need a goalkeeper. If you need a right back, a left back, a centre half, that's something that's needed immediately. You can't go out on a Saturday without a goalkeeper or without good cover or without those players with in your group. I think with offensive players, they're the types that they're much easier to keep happy because depending what system you're playing, you might have 5 or 6 offensive players out on a Saturday, 5 or 6 on the bench. So all of a sudden you can keep 11, 12, 13 players happy, rather than only having 2 centre halves or 1 goalkeeper. So yeah, it's always much easier to add an offensive player at this time of year than it is to add a core position like goalkeeper or centre half.
James, we've had some mega deals over the summer, and notably Neymar, whose father profited quite healthily from that deal. Have you ever experienced or have you heard through other agencies of any kind of quirky sweeteners from family or friend members that needed to be done to get a deal pushed through?
If you've got a number for his dad, mate, that'd be a good introduction. Add him to the stable, that'd be good. Look, I think I can't go into deal specific or club specific, but ultimately it's like any other business in procurement. There's a budget set. How that is divided, is case by case. So it's not unheard of, especially with the change in regulations. That family members, parents, brothers, uncles are involved, but 9 times out of 10 they're involved. They're adding value. They've got trust, obviously, with the family member, i.e. the player, and they actually are fundamentally making something happen.
James, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And good luck over the next 72 hours, because I'm sure you're going to be busy.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. So it's time for our weekly look at fantasy football. I've got a confession to make.
Go on.
I am top of my draft league.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm very impressed by it. Firmino, Charlie Daniels, Raheem, Tammy, get in. But in the Stay on the Feet league, Stay on Your Feet league, I have tanked. I've had an absolute terror. The average this week was 43 points.
Yeah, it was a low week.
It was a low week, but not as low as me. The highest was 109.
What did you get?
I got a paltry 29.
That's bad.
29, seriously, I got 29 points. I don't even know how I did that.
Yeah.
Mane, Willian, Cedric Suarez, absolutely fine. But my forwards, Lukaku, Defoe and Chicharito, gave me 3 points between them. 3 points.
Yeah.
I'm in 155th place out of 218. Where are you?
Well, I'm not much better. I'm 96th because I too had the Chicharito and Lukaku, as most managers out there did. But Ali, Salah and Firmino were doing the business for me. We've got a change in the leaderboard again this week. It's changing every week. We got this week Ian O'Dyer's Puddle Jumpers, who bucked the trend in this low scoring week with a 74 points. Quite respectable.
Well done.
His reliance on Salah, Mane and Firmino clearly paying dividends with goals for all 3.
What? He
They
played,
scored.
he's got all 3 of those. The one thing I will say is that last week we did tell you, get Newcastle forwards in your team because West Ham are so bad defensively, and that came up trumps. I'm going to give you another tip for the next round of Fantasy League.
On.
Obviously, it depends on injuries over the international break, but I'm switching my captain from Romelu Lukaku, who's going to play for Manchester United against Stoke away from home at 5:30 on the Saturday. I'm going to give it to Alvaro Morata. I think I'm actually going to switch those 2 players out because Morata has scored already twice and assisted goals already. They're going to Leicester, who always concede, and obviously, with the Manchester United, it might be more difficult at Stoke. Plus, put Ben Foster in goal because West Bromwich Albion, they've got Brighton 0.
Got ya.
Well, Gary Neville said the whole Arsenal squad was up for sale in this transfer window, but it's not entirely true. There are some that Wenger knows he couldn't flog. But who will be moving before deadline day? Let's speak to the man with the finger on the pulse. The Mirror Football Sport reporter, Neil McClellan, is with us. Hi, Neil, how are you?
Good morning, very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Obviously, we've spoken to John Cross this morning, who's rather in whispering hushed tones told us very secretly that Manchester City have not only bid for Alexis Sanchez, but offered Raheem Sterling in exchange. It's a massive story, that, isn't it?
It is, and it really is decision time for Arsenal. They've got themselves in this position now. They've got these three players going into the final years of his contract. So Oxlade Chamberlain looks like he's going to go. Now they've got the decision. What do you do with Sanchez? Do you hold on to him, an unhappy player, have every game you lose, have him pictures of him looking miserable on the pitch? Or do you cash in and get someone who wants to come and play for you? So that's the decision they've got to make. Whether Sterling's the answer, they've got to weigh that up, or do they use Sanchez's money and go out and try and buy someone else the next 3 days?
Yeah, it's very difficult at this stage of the year as well to be able to do that unless you've already got someone lined up.
Absolutely.
We're talking to Thomas Lemar for quite some time, or they were talking about trying to sign him. But Arsenal, are they going to lose out to Liverpool on this player because they've also been linked?
Well, Liverpool, Wenger said last week the deal's dead because Monaco sold so many players this summer. You know, they won the title and they've got Mendy, Bernardo Silva to City, Bakayoko for the Chelsea. They lost a couple of other players. So they've said Fabinho might still be going to Paris, but they've said that's it now. We're starting the season, and Mbappe might be going as well. Looks like he's going to Paris. So they've said no more. So Arsenal and Spurs had a sniff around Lemar earlier in the summer and were told it's a no deal. So Liverpool have gone back in hard. So it's a little bit like Anthony Martial a few years ago when Wenger had a sniff round him, who was told he's not happening, and United went in last minute and spent a lot of money. So it just depends whether Monaco are prepared to let another of their top players go this summer.
Pep thought it was going to be pretty simple, but Evans, Elpis, Leicester City are also in for Johnny. I mean, which way is he going to go? I mean, if I was Johnny Evans, I'd be thinking Champions League football, could win the title or go to Leicester City. I think I know where I'd be heading, but what do you think is going to happen?
Well, they started off in the mid-teens offer, and it's gone up and up. I think if Man City slapped down 30 million, I think it's going to be difficult for West Brom to say no. But if Evans is, it's 30 million pounds for pretty much a squad player.
And Crystal Palace need a central defender as well. I mean, could they nip him for Johnny Evans, or is that about out of their league now?
I think they're going to go back in for Sacco. I think Sacco's the big. I mean, amongst all the difference of the changes, the manager, and obviously De Boer's been a problem. When Sacco joined them at the end of last season, he made such a huge difference to them. And Liverpool are looking for 30. Palace have offered 20, now 24. I'd like to think that they go up a little bit more, and even if they have to go to 30, that could be the difference between them staying up this season or not. They've also had a sniff round Font, who the West Ham player who was with them before he went to Southampton. So I certainly think Palace need a new centre-back this week.
The signing of Ousmane Dembele, not going to be the last one for Barcelona. Last night, Robert Fernandez said he's the Barcelona sporting director. We hope to present another one before the end of the month, and we expect that to be...
It could be them. It could be Draxler from Paris Saint-Germain. There's a possibility. Seri from Nice. They're looking at a few players. I mean, if as you said, if Coutinho's not going to happen, even if they have one more go, there are other options there. I mean, it's amazing turnaround, that the power of French football as well. That the money that Neymar's gone, so that money's there to be spent.
What a lovely position to be in, having £100 million to get through in 3 days. We would all like that challenge.
Brewster's Millions.
Yeah. Neil, thank you very much for coming on the programme, giving us all the latest transfer gossip. Right, it's time for Are You Fit to Wear the Shirt, that moment of the week where we get someone to look through their wardrobe, their loft, their attic, their garden shed, and find one of those old shirts that you thought were going to never be seen again and try and get back in it again. This week is one of the best.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Alex. This is my Manchester United shirt from 1999 when we won everything, really, the treble. So let's see if I've grown much since then.
Well, he's definitely grown much.
He's a specimen.
I don't know what specimen he is, but he's certainly a specimen of something.
He's grown.
It looks very tight around the shoulders.
Yeah.
Can you get it over the belly? That's the big one. Whoa!
It's down.
Oh, he's done it.
There you go. Collar turned up as well.
Oh, he's even gone for a Cantona impression.
Fair enough.
Well done.
Yeah.
Not bad. I mean, he's very top-heavy there, isn't he?
He's top-heavy.
I was a little bit worried as he tried to sort of squeeze through it that he was going to topple over.
There's years of celebration in that belly.
So I said 1999 was a very good night for him. As you can see, it's taken its toll. If you would like to try on one of your old jerseys for us, so we can see what the difference is between now and back then why not get in touch? The WhatsApp address is at the bottom of the screen. So do you want the answer to the Mindbender?
Yeah, go on then. I think I've got a good idea.
Okay, so you've scored 17 goals. Liverpool, your team, scored 17 goals in 5 home games against Arsenal.
That's
9 players have scored those goals. 5 of those players have scored more than 1 during that period.
Yeah, who do I
you've
get?
got 3. So you've got Skirtle, Sterling and Mane. There's 2 more to get.
Yeah. Sturridge, I can remember him grabbing a couple.
Yeah, he got 1 yesterday, or whenever it was, Sunday now. God, that was ages ago.
Yeah.
And he also got 1 previously, but never more than that. He didn't get 2 in 1 game, actually, which I thought was strange, because I always had this vivid memory of him scoring 2 in a game.
And I thought there's a lot of goals to process.
So many goals,
lot to get
so
through.
many goals. And one more.
One more.
Come on. Scored on Sunday.
Bobby Firmino.
Roberto Firmino. Have you got a song for Roberto Firmino? I can't remember what it is.
I don't know about a song, but he's got some great celebrations. You see when the shorts were brought down. But
if that floats your boat. Right, thank you very much to everyone that took part today. At Stay On Your Feet on Twitter. You can get involved on Instagram as well, at Stay On Your Feet TV. Thanks to John Cross, to James Featherstone, to Clive Clark, to Neil McClellan. We are back next week. In between time, I will be doing Scotland, both their games against Malta and Lithuania for ITV. Live game on Saturday night, massive one. Spain against Italy, live, ITV4 at 7:45. Make sure you join me for that one. Portugal and Hungary the day afterwards as well. So very, very busy. What are you up to?
I'm just going to keep looking at the transfer window, really. And if there's any justice in the world, we'll sign Lamar.
Oh, very good. I'm supposed to be going to London to present TalkSport Drive this afternoon.
Okay.
But I thought, maybe I'll just sit here and do nothing and wait and see what happens. Because after all, right now, I'm identifying as Mesut Ozil.